I think Comrade Ho Chi Minh summed up the spirit of the Vietnamese people in the following quotation, which has become world famous. It's to be found everywhere. Certainly in my youth, it was everywhere. The war may last 10, 20 years or longer. Hanoi, Haiphong, and other cities and enterprises may be destroyed, but the Vietnamese people will not be intimidated. Nothing is more precious than independence and freedom. When victory day comes, our people will rebuild our country and endow it with bigger and more beautiful construction. The sheer revolutionary optimism that comes through that simple statement of President Ho Chi Minh, the war may last 10, 20 years. We get fed up sometimes. We work week after week, month after month, and we expect a revolution, and it doesn't come, and sometimes we get frustrated. And here, in the battle, in the middle of the battle, Comrade Ho Chi Minh is saying, the war may last 10 years. Don't be impatient, don't be impetuous. It may last 20 or more, but we will win because we refuse to be intimidated. And when the victory day comes, we'll build more beautiful constructions than the imperialists are destroying today. It's hurtful to see your cities, your centers of culture, your centers of life being destroyed. But to say, yes, you can destroy it, but we can see beyond that. We'll defeat you, and we'll build a better and more beautiful Vietnam than you can ever even imagine as you're destroying us. It is to the credit of the Vietnamese people that not only could they face the destruction of the war, since the war ended, they are building a beautiful Vietnam and realizing the dream of Uncle Ho by endowing their country with better, bigger, and more beautiful construction. People who go to Vietnam tell me how the Vietnamese people have overcome and continue to overcome the destruction that was wreaked on them by US imperialism. Can you just imagine that the war ended 35 years ago? They're still having to deal with unexploded bombs and shells. They're still having to deal with the effects on the soil of the defoliants that were used by the Americans, Agent Orange and napalm and other deadly materials. This they are continuing to do. But what the Vietnamese people did also was, along with the Chinese, along with the Koreans, by their revolutionary struggle, they built a bridge between the revolutionary movement in the imperialist countries and the revolutionary movements in the oppressed countries. By bringing revolution to their countries, they actually connected their countries and their country's struggle to the great Socialist October Revolution. This is their tremendous contribution. And it's not without the contribution of the Bolsheviks and the October Revolution that these things could be achieved. I can't resist giving you a very small quotation here from one of the speeches of Joseph Stalin. And he is here really trying to make a distinction between the opportunists of the Second International and the revolutionaries of the Third International, the Bolsheviks, and their friends and followers and comrades all around the world. He said it was formally accepted, it was the formally accepted idea that the world has been divided from time immemorial into inferior and superior races, into blacks and whites, of whom the former are unfit for civilization and are doomed to be objects of exploitation, while the latter are the only vehicles of civilization whose mission is to exploit the former. This legend must now be regarded, that's after the October Revolution, must now be regarded as shattered and discarded. One of the most important results of the October Revolution is that it has dealt this legend a mortal blow, having demonstrated that liberated non-European nations, and he was of course referring to the Eastern and Central Asian republics of the Soviet Union, the liberated non-European nations drawn into the channel of Soviet development are not a bit less capable of promoting a really progressive culture and a really progressive civilization than other European nations. Now that was the wonderful proof given through the existence of the Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union forever shall continue to be really an eloquent proof of the ability of humanity to live with each other, not being bothered by differences in race, religion, nationality, sex, age, creed, whatever the case may be. What divides people is the system of exploitation of man by man. And you only have to see the position in the former Soviet territories, how people are involved in fratricidal warfare, because imperialism puts each individual against the other, because each one is trying to survive in the struggle for existence. There is no cooperation. Only by cooperation, only by fraternal harmony is it possible for humanity to have a joyful present and a joyful future. Since the collapse of the Soviet Union, the movement has gone through tremendous reverses. It would be futile to say that the collapse of the Soviet Union didn't affect us, as though we're just the same. No, it affected. A lot of communist parties deserted the cause and joined the camp of renegades. People passed motions. The Communist Party of Great Britain passed a motion that October Revolution was a mistake of historic proportions and liquidated itself, as though people who made the October Revolution had consulted the CPGB whether it should be made or not. The Trotskyites passed motions, communism is dead, now fight for real socialism. The very people who say how sad they felt when the Labour Party lost the general election were actually dancing in the streets because the Soviet Union had collapsed. No, comrades, the collapse of the Soviet Union was a tremendous loss. But all the same, we must take heart. Historical movements don't always go in an ascending curve. Sometimes they go down. Our movement, ever since the Communist Manifesto was published in 1848, has made tremendous progress. There's not a single movement in history, religious or secular, that in a period of 150 years has made the kind of progress that our movement has made. If we have lost, it isn't because our system is not good enough. It isn't because our enemies are superior. It is because we have made mistakes, and we must learn from those mistakes and build an even better movement so that we will be able to overthrow imperialism. In this regard, once again, Joseph Stalin, the chief endeavor of the bourgeoisie of all countries and of its hangers-on is to kill in the working class faith in its own strength, faith in the possibility and inevitability of its victory, and thus to perpetuate capitalist slavery. The thing that we have to fear, especially going through a reactionary period, is this kind of pessimism, this kind of lack of faith in the future. Humanity cannot simply accept capitalism as its final destination. Because if capitalism is the final destination of humanity, then, comrades, humanity has no future. In my view, there's only one future for humanity, and that is the bright future of communism through socialism, through national liberation. And that's what the October Revolution, that's what the Chinese Revolution, that's what the Korean Revolution, and that's what the Vietnamese Revolution that we are actually celebrating today show us. We have a great deal to learn from them, and we're very grateful that a representative of such a heroic nation, Comrade Min from the Vietnamese Embassy, is with us, and he shall be our first speaker to speak tonight. Thank you.